Bridge page. From Rhythm to Resonance. SOC 101, SOC 102, SOC 103. We began with rhythm. In SOC 101, we tuned our ears to the pulse of society, its structures, norms, and orchestrated roles. We learned that sociology is not just a study of systems, but a symphony of interactions. Each week was a movement, from the overture of socialization to the crescendo of collective behavior. We asked, what is society and how do we find ourselves within it? Then came resonance. SOC 102 pulled us deeper into the dissonance, poverty, injustice, exclusion, and reform. We traced the fault lines of inequality and listened for the silenced notes. Through media, myth, and movement, we explored how social problems are not just observed but felt. We asked, how do we change the tune? Now, we descend. SOC 103 begins not with answers, but with descent into identity, power, and myth. This is the underworld journey, the spiral into race, class, and gender. We will not merely analyze systems, we will inhabit them. Through gospel, protest soul, hip-hop, and folk, we will hear the voices that history tried to mute. Through films like Encanto, Moonlight, and Soul, we will witness the mythic arcs of visibility, exile, and rebirth. We ask, who gets to belong? Who holds the microphone? What rhythms are deemed deviant, and which are called divine? SOC 103 is not a conclusion, it is a reckoning. It is the moment when sociology becomes personal, political, and poetic. It is where myth meets method, and music becomes memory. So take a breath. Recall the rhythm. Now, let's spiral into resonance. The Rhythm of Society, SOS 103, Race, Class, and Gender. The Rhythm of Society, Myth, Music, and Identity. Chapter 21, Identity and Belonging. Creation, myth, emergence from darkness into knowledge. The creation myth, found across cultures from the Yoruba to the Navajo, symbolizes the emergence of order, identity, and meaning from primordial chaos. In sociological terms, this myth mirrors the journey of individuals forming their racial and ethnic identities, a process of self-discovery shaped by historical, cultural, and familial narratives. Just as mythic ancestors rise from darkness into light, individuals navigate societal structures to define who they are in relation to race and ethnicity. For example, African American identity formation often draws on ancestral memory, spiritual resilience, and communal storytelling, echoes of the gospel and spirituals tradition. These songs are not just musical expressions, but mythic tools of survival and belonging, connecting personal identity to collective history. Intersectionality, a term coined by Kimberlé Crenshaw, really deepens this mythic lens by revealing how overlapping identities, like race, gender, and class, shape lived experiences. In creation myths, beings often emerge with multiple roles or powers, reflecting, the complexity of human identity. Similarly, individuals may experience both empowerment and marginalization, depending on how their identities intersect within social systems. Finally, social belonging is the myth's promise, the idea that once identity is formed, one finds place and purpose within a community. In many traditions, creation is not just about the self, but about the formation of a people, a shared origin story that binds individuals together. This mirrors how racial and ethnic identities foster solidarity, resistance, and cultural pride.
Group topic: understanding racial and ethnic identity. So, here are some guiding questions. How do individuals develop racial and ethnic identities? What is intersectionality, and how does it shape experiences? How do race and ethnicity influence social belonging? From a Durkheimian perspective, racial identity can be understood as a social fact, a collective construct that exists outside the individual but exerts influence on their behavior and self-perception. Durkheim argued that society shapes the individual through norms and values. In this view, racial identity is not merely biological, but a socially defined category that reflects how groups are classified and treated within the moral order of society. It becomes part of the collective consciousness, influencing how individuals see themselves and are seen by others. Ethnic identity is, well, a multidimensional construct involving self-identification, a sense of belonging, and attitudes toward one's ethnic group, often shaped during adolescence and influenced by social context. Intersectionality is a framework for understanding how multiple social identities, such as race, gender, and class, interact to produce unique experiences of oppression and privilege.
The purpose here is to explore how race and ethnicity shape personal and collective identity. The mythic archetype at play is the creation myth, a pan-cultural theme of emergence from darkness into knowledge. The musical genre of gospel and spirituals, especially songs like Wade in the Water, offers a profound lens into the emotional and historical dimensions of identity formation. These songs are more than spiritual hymns. They are encoded messages of resistance, survival, and divine guidance, rooted in the African American experience of slavery and escape via the Underground Railroad. They really show how identity is shaped not only by personal reflection, but by collective struggle and ancestral memory. The act of singing becomes a ritual of belonging, a way to affirm one's place in a community that has endured systemic exclusion. This journey toward identity is mirrored in the animated film The Croods, which allegorizes the emergence from fear-based survival into self-awareness and cultural evolution. The Croods begin in a cave, symbolic of ignorance or societal constraint, and gradually move into the light, discovering new ways of living and relating. This narrative parallels the creation myth archetype, where individuals and communities emerge from metaphorical darkness into knowledge and self-definition. Just as the Croods must confront change and difference, individuals navigating racial and ethnic identity must reconcile inherited traditions with evolving social realities. In the mythic arc of identity, every hero must pass through a shadowed realm, an underworld where purpose is lost, value is questioned, and the path home is uncertain. For many communities of color, this underworld is not only metaphorical, but starkly real, shaped by centuries of displacement, economic marginalization, and ancestral memory. African diasporic traditions have long woven the underworld journey into their stories, where descent means not just individual struggle, but a communal reckoning with loss and survival. Toni Morrison's Song of Solomon reimagines this journey through Milkman, whose trek south is a spiritual excavation, unearthing the ghosts of slavery, migration, and forgotten kin. This descent, as Judith Fletcher writes, is not about heroism in the classical sense, but about confronting the pain and necessity of reclaiming cultural wholeness. Today, the racial wealth gap and ongoing employment discrimination form modern underworlds, spaces where worth is obscured and opportunity is denied. Even as laws change, the starting lines remain unequal, and families of color must navigate systems that have long devalued their labor and legacy. These disparities are not just numbers. They are lived mythologies, shaping how communities see themselves and their futures. Pixar's Soul mirrors this journey through its protagonist, Joe Gardner, a black jazz musician whose passage through the great before and great beyond echoes the struggle to find value and purpose in a world that too often renders black labor invisible. Just as Joe's return to life is hard-won, so too is the ongoing ascent from economic marginalization, a climb that requires both policy and the reclamation of memory and dignity. Music becomes a companion on this journey. The gospel anthem, "We Shall Not Be Moved," reclaimed in the hands of Mavis Staples, transforms the Americana genre into a site of resistance and belonging. Here, the underworld is not an end, but a crucible, a place where suffering is transmuted into resolve, and where every note affirms that value is forged in darkness, not erased by it. The myth of descent and ascent reframes economic inequality as more than a social issue. It is a call to reckon with buried histories and to return not empty-handed, but bearing insight, resistance, and renewed identity. We are all colors of wheat, each shade vital, though some are still left in the shadows. The journey continues, spiraling upward as communities reclaim their place in the light.